You got breaking news?
Yeah, Ken Rosenthal is saying Roberto Osuna has a new team. He's a Houston Astro.
Wow.
That, according to Ken Rosenthal, the non-waiver trade deadline. Welcome back, McCall.
Yep.
The non-waiver trade deadline is tomorrow, 23 hours from now. And again, this just breaking. Roberto Osuna, who is about to end serving his league-imposed suspension, is on his way to a team. And I'm just saying this because there are a lot of layers to this from a baseball standpoint. Obviously, from other standpoints, there's a lot going on with Roberto Osuna.
Remarkable.
From a baseball standpoint, the Houston Astros and could they get a reliever was one of the lingering questions still out there.
Yes.
Because they certainly needed one. And when the defending...
And a closer, not just a reliever.
a closer.
Yeah.
And for the defending World Series champion Houston Astros, we don't know return. This tweet, McAuliffe, just coming across everyone's desk.
Let me just say something right now, Sid Sixero. We're going to talk about the month that you missed. That is gone. We are now going to talk about the breaking news that just transpired.
That's how we
Roberto
roll.
Osuna to the Houston Astros from the Toronto Blue Jays, and almost fitting that earlier today on Twitter, the Tim and Sid account threw out a tweet. And I almost was a little shy about the tweet because of the answers we were going to get back. But we sent out the tweet, should the Jays trade Roberto Osuna? It looks something like this. Do you see him as a piece of the team's future? And the answers to the question, Sid, I'll just go down and you can see 129 responses in not that long. I don't want to cycle through because I'm afraid of what some of those will say, but there was plenty of feedback because the conversation is so nuanced, because he was suspended, and because we haven't heard anything from the court case, because the court case hadn't happened as of yet. So if Ken Rosenthal says that Roberto Osuna has been traded, or Ken Rosenthal says that Roberto Osuna has been traded.
Okay, he's 23 years old. This guy's not seeing free agency for a while.
Yeah, he's a free agent in 2021.
So controllable assets like this to move in this way lead to the narrative that Tim just laid out. If the Jays don't get back at least 2 top 10 prospects from their system, I would be floored. I'm not saying they're going to be ready to play, but that's not really the point. The point here is, I think, and there are guys in that system, Tim, that when you look at that team, they're not going to play. There are young players entrenched in positions in that starting lineup that aren't going anywhere. So when you go up and down the roster, you could see guys who they would deem expendable. Also keep in mind, earlier this month, Ken Giles, their closer, who struggled all year, had a pretty significant meltdown after an outing and kind of gave it to A.J. Hinch, and he lost it in the dugout. He was sent down like the next day.
Right.
They have been looking for a closer like this, Houston, since that happened. I think it was July 11th.
Right.
So this makes a lot of sense. This was one of the questions.
Yeah, would the Astros match other teams who were making moves and go after the spot that was obviously their biggest weakness? And closer was their biggest reason. Guys, I know John Paul Morosi's upstairs. I'm not sure if he's on with McCowan, but if he was going to join us a little later on in the show, but if he wants to jump on and join us, he can. I think we're going to get Shai Davidi on in a flash. And I know that there's other conversations, including right now, Bryce Harper perhaps leaving the Washington Nationals because there is a report from Jeff Passan that their clubhouse is in shambles. Yeah. They're below 500. They expected much more. So this could be a very significant day in the world of baseball. Obviously, this bats leadoff for Jays fans. Roberto Osuna, as you can tell, according to Ken Rosenthal, has been traded to the Astros.
Tim, hold your horses. The San Antonio Spurs have just traded DeMar. No, I'm kidding. They didn't. Relax. Just felt like it was, but it worked with the narrative.
So what comes back for a guy like Roberto Osuna? Like, what are the comparables of? I mean, I don't even know how many young, controllable closers have moved in the last little while. That was my conversation throughout the Osuna, is that it's hard to find starting pitching. You understand. You've seen it happen before. Young, controllable starting pitching, you can add layers to the equation of how many prospects you would get back. But I'm not sure how many comparables for a guy in Roberto Osuna who you look at the first, 4 seasons of his career, and you can't even add this year, and you've got saves of 20, 36, and 39. Like those were his first 3 years in the bigs, and an ERA through 4 years of 2.87.
Yeah.
Like this is legit one of the best closers in the game with years of control. I would think that that would be a significant haul back the other way.
I'd be stunned if it wasn't. The only reason, in my mind, let's say it goes the other way, Tim. Let's say it's not a huge haul.
Right.
The only reason for that in my mind would be Osuna off the field.
Yes.
That's the only logical explanation if it comes back and it's like international slot money. Like, which I don't anticipate happening. Again, 3 years of control for Roberto Osuna. That is to me, you pay premium for that.
Listen, there was a reason, despite the court case and despite the suspension, that they hadn't released him to this point, because you could just release him. I still think that there is a significant haul, even despite the suspension. And listen, like, I have no time for anyone who gets into a domestic violence situation. I don't know anything about Osuna's because the court case hasn't taken place. I haven't read any of the documents. I wasn't there. I don't know enough about it. But if you look at baseball, Aroldis Chapman, to my understanding, is still pitching and still a significant part of a significant team, right?
Yeah.
Like, people want maybe the outright release. People want to move on from him. But in baseball parlance, there is still value to a very good closer at a young age.
I mentioned Ken Giles was sent to the minors after the meltdown. Ken Giles, according to Ken Rosenthal, is now a member of the Toronto Blue Jays.
He comes back the other way.
He is coming back to the Toronto Blue Jays. Ken Giles, who has had a nightmare of a season, is now a member of the Toronto Blue Jays. This is Ken's tweet moments ago. It's Giles plus for Osuna. Rest of return, not yet known.
And to look at Giles' numbers last year is to talk about a World Series champion closer, right? Like this year, you're talking about the meltdown. The numbers are .499 this year. Last year, in their World Championship year, he had a 2.30 ERA and 34 saves in 62 innings pitched. So he was among the best closers in the game. And let's remember, he's still only 27 years old.
Correct.
So it's not as if this guy has,
he's not a 34-year-old washed
the arm
up dude.
and it's done.
Yeah.
He is a young guy. So as of right now, what we do know is, according to reports, and Mark Feinsand is also confirming right now, source confirms the Astros have acquired closer Roberto Osuna from the Blue Jays. Ken Rosenthal had it first. Add to the equation that we hear that perhaps Ken Giles is the one coming back the other way, and Shai Davidi is going to join us in mere moments. Hopefully he'll have more information on what the return is for Roberto Osuna.
Okay. You want to reset and come back with Shai?
If these people will stick around.
Yeah, we're coming back